Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we'll profile singer-songwriter Brenda Weiler. But first, joining me now is the Assiniboine Park Conservancy CEO from Winnipeg, Margaret Redmond. Margaret, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
As we get started, tell the folks a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, I'm a lawyer by background. I worked for years in the grain industry in Winnipeg, a sort of an international role. But I'm a third-generation Winnipegger who all my life enjoyed Assiniboine Park, lived a couple of blocks from it for most of my growing up years. And really, it was just something that I felt was important to become involved in, to give back to my city.
Well, now, as CEO, how long have you been the CEO of the park?
3 years.
So 3 years.
Yes.
And kind of, you said you live close, so I mean, there was an interest, but how did you end up, I mean, were you volunteering before, or how did you end up becoming the CEO?
Well, they did a national search for the CEO when this entity was created. It was just created in 2008. And really, they were looking for someone that could really drive sort of the strategic decisions around how do you take a major urban park in a city, take management of it over from the city government and turn it into a major attraction and beautiful green space and really return it to its original roots as a centerpiece of our city. And so they were looking for somebody from a very broad background. I brought legal skills, communications, marketing, government relations, all the things that had to happen for this massive vision for this park to become a reality.
Margaret, many of the Prairie Public viewers may be familiar, and of course Winnipeggers would be, but you know, we've done a documentary on it and we've profiled it on Red River Showcase. But tell the folks out there, what is Assiniboine Park, and tell me some about it.
It's many things. It's a beautiful urban green space. It's 1,100 acres of green space in the middle of Winnipeg. Not something that you will find even in the rest of Canada. It has a conservatory in it. It has a 90-acre zoo in it. It has a beautiful heritage building called the Pavilion that has art galleries. There's restaurants in the park, and miles of beautiful walking paths and green space and sports fields and cricket fields. You can see cricket being played there on any weekend. And it's really a sort of centerpiece to the Winnipeg and Manitoba community.
Well, and I think we're going to take time maybe to talk about as many of those as we can that you mentioned, but tell us about some of the history then and how this was created.
Well, it's actually a very interesting history and really speaks to the vision of municipal leaders. It was created in 1904. The mayor at the time bought up all this land that at that time was on the outskirts of the city, was really farmland, but foresaw the need for that sort of urban oasis as the city grew, and very much a movement that was happening across North America to create urban green spaces, and the same history sort of behind Central Park in New York being a big example of that. And so apparently that mayor and the council at that time actually got voted out the next election because the public saw this as such an outrageous move, and that's hard to believe now given what a centerpiece it has become for our city, and anyone who grew up there in the last 3 generations remembers that park as part of their lives. And then they hired a designer who was a protege of Frederick Olmsted. Frederick Olmsted designed New York Central Park, was the horticulturalist behind the design of the very famous Chicago World's Fair. Some of the most famous parks in North America are Olmstedian design parks. Assiniboine Park is the only large Olmstedian park in Canada, other than Mount Royal in Montreal. And that design really is part of what makes that park such a special place. And really, it is a historic space for Canada and North America, and one that we felt deserved to be restored and be there for many, many, many generations to come.
Yeah, a lot of times visionaries aren't known to be visionaries at the time,
Exactly.
are they? Well, let's talk about some of the different aspects in the park. The zoo is a key component. You said, I believe, 90-acre
Yes.
zoo. And tell us about that, and I guess the Journey to Churchill exhibit.
Sure, yes. Well, the zoo was really, most of the investment into that zoo happened in the 1960s and the early 70s. So it has been in need of a major investment for quite some time. And that's part of the Conservancy's job, to really create the next generation of what an animal exhibit like a zoo should be. And our vision is to create an animal conservation and education center in that space that is now known as the Assiniboine Park Zoo, and really create a space where, instead of going through the zoo and experiencing a collection of animals that may not necessarily be themed in any way, this is to create much larger spaces for animals to be exhibited in a habitat that is as close as possible to their natural habitat, immerse the visitor in whatever part of the world we are trying to recreate for them. And the largest part of the zoo will be focused on recreating Manitoba environment. So our vision is that when you enter that zoo, you will begin a journey through the Manitoba prairie, through the boreal forest, and you'll be immersed in that landscape and enter into the far north of Manitoba. So we've now taken you on a journey from the prairies up to Churchill, Manitoba, and you will arrive in what will be our first phase of development, the Journey to Churchill, which is about a $70 million piece of development that will display Arctic species, caribou, muskox, Arctic fox, tundra swans, and of course the centerpiece of it will be polar bears and ringed seals, representing what Churchill, Manitoba is known all around the world for. There will be over 10 acres of space for the polar bears to be exhibited in. There'll be 3 different exhibits, one very much like the tundra, one very much them out on the ice in Churchill, where you will literally see them in pools. You will walk through tunnels where polar bears will be swimming above and around you, and seals will be on the other side of that tunnel swimming above and around you, and you will emerge out to what will be very much like the Wapusk National Park, one of Canada's newest national parks that is there to protect polar bears. And what we're doing is really recreating all of that geography and giving these animals a massive space and using them as ambassadors to talk about the threat to polar bears and northern species created by climate change and the melting ice cap, and really have people respect these animals when they see them in this magnificent environment.
And I understood you to say it's open every day of the year?
The zoo is open every day of the year, and the exhibit I just described will be open in 2013.
Okay. As you're talking about the International Polar Bear Conservation Center.
That's another component of the Journey to Churchill exhibit. It will actually open at the end of this year.
Okay.
It's a building that will house interpretive materials. It will also serve a research role to support our commitment to conservation of northern species and of polar bears in particular. It will be very much a center of education and a virtual center for all people researching northern species and the threats to those species. And attached to that will be the former bear dens of the park that have now been renovated and are now capable of accepting orphaned polar bear cubs who are often orphaned around this time of the year, later into the fall. Either the mothers have starved to death because they have not been able to get out on the ice soon enough to feed, or have been shot, and these cubs that are left orphaned are either left to starve or actually have to be euthanized by conservation people. And so through the Manitoba, the province of Manitoba's support and their commitment to saving these cubs, these exhibits have been renovated to accept any cub that needs to be rescued from the far north. It will be brought to Winnipeg by Manitoba Conservation, and those cubs will be brought back to health, transitioned, and people visiting the zoo can, through cameras, follow their development, and ultimately these cubs will be transitioned into zoos that meet Manitoba standards for housing polar bears, and hopefully into our new Journey to Churchill exhibit.
That's great. That's great. Well, a lot of new things here. I'm talking. Can you talk about the family center and then
Yes.
with that the children's garden? I mean,
Yes, we've got a lot going on in the park, and this summer a lot of new things opened, one being this magnificent children's nature playground that is, a lot of people describe it as walking into a Dr. Seuss story, and I think they capture that well. It's a very magical place that has combined beautiful garden features, but very whimsical, with play elements that will not be found in any other playground in North America, and it was designed to be very unique, a very special place. On the edge of that is a beautiful new enlarged duck pond that is also a skating rink in the winter, and the new Qualico Family Center that will open at the end of November sits on the edge of both of those developments. It will have a casual restaurant for breakfast and lunch. You can rent it for weddings and other events. It will have a fireplace lounge, and one wing of it will have, we call it the Acorn Activity Room, and on any given day there'll be children's activities occurring in that room. You could come in and do crafts. There may be children's entertainers there from time to time, but the building is really pictured as being sort of that central pulsing heart of the park on any given day.
Well, and with all these activities, and maybe can you talk about there's a $200 million capital campaign currently underway?
Yes, so all those projects I talked about are all part of what we call the Imagine a Place campaign, which is a 10-year development plan for the park to really sort of set it on the right path for the next 100 years, to make sure it remains a relevant community space and really becomes a magnet for tourism to Winnipeg and to Manitoba. So what I described in terms of the zoo, the Journey to Churchill exhibit, is really part of a much more massive redevelopment of that zoo that will occur over the next 10 years, but really the centerpiece of that being the Journey to Churchill. But again, creating that animal conservation center, that is what we're aiming for over the long term. The three projects that I mentioned, the playground, the duck pond, the family center, and then after that, in around 2017, we hope we will be opening a beautiful new conservatory in the park that will have a Mediterranean and rainforest components to it, and an indoor year-round butterfly pavilion.
Now you said new in 2017, but of course the conservatory is something people really like to see now.
Yes, we have a beautiful conservatory in the park. We just know that building that's there today will probably not last for another 10 years, and we need to be planning to always have something like that in the park for people. And so the conservatory of today will remain while we fundraise and design and build the new one. And it is a beautiful space. It's like walking into a tropical rainforest, a beautiful retreat in the winter in particular, and has a beautiful floral exhibit hall as well that every 2 months we change how that is configured. So every time you come to the conservatory, you'll experience something a little different, and there's a beautiful restaurant attached to it as well.
Do you think that's part of the allure of coming, because it changes? It seems like there's a lot of changes going on. It's not, if you go and go back, it's not always exactly the same.
Well, and that's like nature, isn't it? And the park is all about connecting people to nature. So my favorite time of year in the park is actually in the winter. It is so beautiful. If you get a hoarfrost that comes down on that park, it is spectacular, and it's a very beautiful place all year round, and that's how we think of ourselves, as very nature-based.
Well, can you talk some about the Pavilion Gallery Museum too, and what people would see there?
The pavilion is a heritage building that really is the architectural centerpiece of the park, and the second and third floor of it housed beautiful galleries that exhibit famous Manitoba artists. Walter J. Phillips, who is a well-known Canadian artist, and we have the largest Walter J. Phillips collection in all of Canada. We also have an entire gallery on the third floor dedicated to the works of Ivan Eyre, and it's just a spectacular gallery. Both of them are, and definitely worth a visit when you're in Assiniboine Park.
And of course, the sculpture garden there, Leo Mall
Yes.
Sculpture Garden.
Yes, another great Manitoba artist that is housed in Assiniboine Park. We have a beautiful traditional English garden in the park, and as you move through that garden, you then emerge into the Leo Mall Sculpture Garden that houses innumerable numbers of works of Leo Mall, who is a Ukrainian Canadian who emigrated to Canada and was quite a prolific bronze sculpturist. And these are life-sized bronze sculptures that are inside a garden setting. It's absolutely a spectacular space of the park all year round. Very beautiful in the winter as well to walk through there, and a real favorite with locals and with tourists.
Mm-hmm. But you also mentioned earlier about even the biking and jogging at the park. You know, I mean, is it used a lot?
It is. You know, any given day that you're there, you'll see people using it in a variety of ways. It's a big park for walkers and runners, dog walkers, bikers. In the winter, we have cross-country skiing paths through the park. It's a big sports park, ultimate soccer, baseball, and we are also the only place in Manitoba that has cricket fields, beautiful cricket fields in the center of the park, and it's a really neat thing to drive into the park on a Saturday or Sunday in the summer and see people in their whites playing cricket. But just a variety of activities, and that's really what it's there for, to bring people outdoors, recreating, bringing families and communities together. Picnicking is a big thing in the park, of course, and people are there to visit their favorite places like the zoo or the conservatory or the galleries.
What kind of, you mentioned restaurants, what kind of restaurants would people have the opportunity to eat at?
Well, right now there's two great restaurants in the park, one called the Star Conservatory that is actually connected to the conservatory building itself, and the other is Terrace 55 that's in the pavilion. A more upscale restaurant. You can come have beautiful views out of its atrium into the park. The galleries are just upstairs from that restaurant. And then when the Qualico Family Center opens in November, we'll have another more casual, very family-focused restaurant that will overlook the duck pond, a very beautiful all-glass building that will have breakfast and lunch on any given day.
Well, you talked about capital campaigns, but how is it funded?
Well, it is the park. The operating costs of the park are primarily funded by the City of Winnipeg and by the revenues that we raise as the entity operating in the park. All revenues raised in the park now remain in the park, and that was part of the model when the Conservancy took over, that those were no longer city revenues. They now stay in the park and feed the park's needs. We are also, the city is a 25% funder of that $200 million capital campaign. The province has stepped up at the very front end to fund a large component of that Journey to Churchill exhibit.
Well, it is a very special place. And so if people want more information or want to find out more about it, where can they go? Who can they contact?
Our website, assiniboinepark.ca, is a great source for all information, or they can dial our main line, which is 927-6002, but the website is the best source of all things happening in the park.
Well, Margaret, thanks for joining, and I would encourage anybody out there watching that they should stop by and visit your park sometime.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
My
for
pleasure.
joining us today. Stay tuned for more. Brenda Weiler originally started writing songs after high school in her hometown of Fargo. Choosing the open road over college, Weiler spent much of her next 8 years touring and writing and releasing 5 albums to critical acclaim and regional success. Weiler has become known for her insightful songs, compelling voice, and her ability to connect to her audience on a personal level.
So this is a song off of my first album. It's called Trickle Down. There was this girl that I knew. She stood one straight about 5'2". She had big bones, but a body that could knock 'em dead. And she'd reel them in, then change her mind and reel them back again. Yeah, I knew this girl a long time ago. And she'd sit you down to talk around all the things she wanted you to know. She trickled down you all around you, so you couldn't let her go. You couldn't let her go. Not far away, and she'd listen as I'd ramble in her ear. And I found strength in her reason. Oh, I found myself in her, dear. And everyone will look, everyone will judge. Don't look away, don't let them see you judge. And I'll look down you all around you, so you can't let them go. You can't let them go. Not far away, and she'd listen as I'd ramble in her ear. And I found strength in her reason. Oh, I found myself in her, dear. And I won't look and I won't judge if you don't break, if you don't budge. And they'll trickle down you all around you, so you can't let them go. 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 Let them go, 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 yeah, let them go, no, 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 let them go, let them go, let them go, no, yeah, yeah, oh, no, yeah, yeah, no, 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 hey, hey, yeah.
My name is Brenda Weiler, and I was born and raised in Fargo, North Dakota. You know, I grew up here, I went to school here, and really became involved with music from a fairly young age. Both of my parents are very musical. My dad has a doctorate in music and choral performance, and my mom is a singer, so we grew up just surrounded by music. I had 7 siblings, and we all played instruments, some of us multiple instruments, and we all sang. So, you know, really grew up saturated with music and the arts. Really didn't start actually playing guitar until I think my senior year in high school. I ended up kind of forming a band with my boyfriend and other friends, and we ended up opening for Richie Havens at the Fargo Theater, and it was just sort of a weird way that it happened, but that really kind of gave me the bug, I guess, of performing. I definitely remember that moment, so it was pretty kind of monumental at that age to be able to play to a sold-out crowd at the theater, and then be able to talk to Richie Havens, and you know, that was just sort of a big deal. I moved to the Twin Cities, started recording albums. It just sort of snowballed, really. It was kind of a dream of mine, but I never thought it would actually happen in the sense that I could make a living off of it and travel and tour and record.
I want to exchange all of my clothing and all of my jewelry and all that I own somehow. I want to erase all of my memories and all of the moments and all of the noise and sound. I wanna fake I'm blind. I wanna walk lame. I wanna be a star. All of these things I'll be. I wanna rearrange all of the furniture and all of the silverware and all of the art on the walls. And I want to leave out all of the stories and all of the buildings and all of of the trees in the ground. I wanna fake I'm blind. I wanna walk lame. I wanna be a star. All of these things I'll be. I wanna fake I'm blind. I wanna walk away. I wanna be as far from all of these things I see. I wanna exchange all of my clothing and all of my jewelry and all that I own somehow. 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 Somehow.
Well, that's all we have on Prairie Pulse for this week. And as always, thanks for watching.
Funding provided by North Dakota Council on the Arts and by the members of Prairie Public.